Welcome to the Visual Cast. I'm your host, Alon Hammer, aka Rem. The Visual Cast is a hybrid podcast where we interview some of the most unique, interesting, high-level, and exciting artists from all over the world. Entering into Season 2, we will be starting a monthly live stream to our paid subscribers. To join in on the live stream with Q&As, polls, and some surprises, click on the join button below. Your subscription will massively support our channel and bring us further to creating a community of like-minded individuals who love, create, and immerse themselves with the visual arts and the visual world. For those unable to join financially, don't worry. The episode, like all of our episodes, will be available on Thursdays for everyone to watch. And if you want to support us, like and subscribe and share with anybody you think will enjoy the podcast. I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. Now, without any further ado, here's the Visual Cast.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride.
Alrighty, welcome to the Visual Cast. I am joined today by a very special and quite infamous guest, a very powerful and high-level artist with just a very huge library of work and very big spectacle of work. A person that I've been following for a really, really long time. Like a really long time, actually, and have been inspired by and have been looking up to for a really long time. So I'm super happy to have him on the podcast. Welcome, Burt, Veracruz. Oh, wrong one.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Hell yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. You're obviously a very humble person, and but you are quite high level and out there. You've had quite impressive and unprecedented success on social media. You're very viral. Let's take a look at some of your works. I mean, I really have been following you for quite some time. I think you were one of the first visual artists that I started following when I got into visual arts a decade ago. I don't know if I've been following you for a decade, but for a long time, since I have my Instagram at least. And I've loved kind of seeing the progression of your work and just I was immediately, I'm like, oh, this guy is playing my tune. He's shooting my colors. Yeah, I mean, it's just really impressive. I just wanted to kind of jump into just asking you straight away, what has it kind of been like to have this almost viral, not almost, but viral success with this super psychedelic, trippy art?
It's been an amazing journey, honestly. I didn't expect it. I absolutely did not expect it. I thought hey, I'm just going to sort of learn After Effects and start putting up some of my work. At the same time, I was doing lettering because of, graphic design. And it just kind of took off. And it's been amazing because what it's brought to me, which is a lot of opportunities to work with artists and musicians, and to share this kind of experience with the world. It's really amazing to have the opportunity and to know that there's more to come. It's a blessing. I wasn't expecting it, wasn't counting on it, and I really appreciate everyone who's really walked in my direction and supported me through the years, especially you. So I do remember you following me early on. I came in.
We had some conversations.
Yeah.
We had some because I think there was this kinship. I was kind of, oh, this guy's crushing it on social media, and I'm no, I don't really know where to go here. And it was, yeah, that's true. I remember we did have some. Oh, look at that. That's sick, dude. Yeah, I mean, your work really. It does speak volumes to me as a partaker in psychedelics and, you know, ceremonies and things of this nature, and entheogenic plants and you know, altered states of reality. You know, so it kind of speaks my language, but at the same time, there are many people that dabble in this kind of art, including myself and many, many others. I think there's something about what you do that speaks to, if not the masses, for lack of a better word, but at least like the general population, in the sense of like, I know what's psychedelic, or I know what to expect when I watch, you know, when I listen to Pink Floyd, or when I, look at Alex Gray or something like this. And there's something about that bridge that is very interesting, and something that I think is very hard to latch onto. I don't even know if you're maybe aware of it or not, but there's something about it, you know? It's, you know, do you ever think about that? Like why is, you know, psychedelic art being mainstream is kind of a dichotomy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's hard because one, it's been in a way demonized and you know, for the longest time, right? And
Yeah,
there's
that's right.
just been this war against drugs and for so long, and this is more of such a special birthright experience for all of us. And so, like, I don't think because of that, I don't think it's really broken through the mainstream. But now it is, and I think it's just because it's in line with the general exception of psychedelics, and especially for mental health. And so,
Yeah.
I see that blooming, and it's a beautiful time to be alive.
Hell yeah, dude. It totally is. Yeah, and you know, it's like you're a very authentic person. Like, you're not doing this for fame or, you know, for clout or anything. It's very obvious. But yet there is something about the messages or messaging that you're able to bridge that gap. I think it's a really special skill, or I don't know if skill is not the right word, but a very special, like, like thing, you know. I always think about Meow Wolf, because Meow Wolf is like this crazy, super, like, not on the surface, but like in the ethos of it is psychedelic, extremely altered state. It's very like a journey, but it's you know, the way that it's presented is super like, this is a, you know, interactive experience. This is an art gallery. This is a fun thing to bring your family to. And then people go and they blast off without even understanding that they are, or realizing. And it's like, this is super subtle, super subtle experience that can touch the general. You can't give everybody acid. You can't have everybody sit in a ceremony. You know, even though that would probably be amazing for the world, it's just not realistic. And it's also not the teachings of the native people that hold these medicines. So,
Right.
but the world needs healing. You know, the world needs like this thing that it needs help. People need to feel connected to a higher power, to some sort of source. And experiences like Meow Wolf, you know, your art being so successful are these kind of things. Do you ever think about that in like that sense? Like, is that something that ever occurs to you? Like,
Yeah, I think it's intentional, like what I'm doing, which is really bringing out that message
oh, look
that
at that.
we do need healing, that this is available to us, you know, as a species, as beings, as light beings. We have the birthright to connect with Source. What should stop us? Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Why
I'm
not?
with you.
Why not just connect directly with Source? We talk
Yeah.
about it. We create wars and create division over how words are interpreted, when you can just directly experience divinity
Yeah. Yeah.
and what it means,
Not
and
very,
what does that mean for us on
and
Earth.
not even like, you know, not even through psychedelics. I mean, I know
Right,
you're a big proponent
right.
of, you know, I want to talk about it at some point, not necessarily right now, but you know, you do a lot of, you're connected with meditation and breath work and cacao ceremonies. You have this super cool dream machine that I really want to talk about as well. And these are all
Yes.
kind of like, you know, my name is Rem. You know, I'm a huge proponent of deep lucid dreaming and kind of that idea of reaching altered states of consciousness without necessarily having to do quote unquote drugs or ingesting some medicines. And even when I do sit in ceremony, I take it very, very seriously. I fast.
Yes.
I look at it as something that's not how do you say it in English? Not understood to begin with. Like, it's not something that's just like, it's something to revere and respect.
Yes.
And I think, as a kid, when I was dabbling in psychedelics, I didn't really understand that. I think maybe intuitively, I grew up religious, so I had some sort of like, intricate, like introspective understanding of like what a spiritual experience is. But it took me many years to realize that doing acid is a spiritual experience. Like, all the things I realized on acid were spiritual. It took me many years. But once that kind of realization hit me, it was, it was very like clear. Things were kind of like a light bulb was a little bit was revealed, and honestly, that moment kind of stopped me. Not stopped me, but from that moment, I kind of tapered off doing big doses, in public places. I started looking at it with like a lot more, not fear, but a lot more respect. And, I very rarely did acid without like having like a proper like intention setting, even at parties and things like this. I mean, you grew up in Los Angeles. I'm sure you had like your fair share of psychedelic experiences. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in LA, and maybe how did it connect to your journey as an artist?
Yeah. So my first psychedelic trip was at UC Irvine.
Nice.
I had known about it, right, for a very long time, but I just split an eighth with some friends, and it was such a beautiful experience. I think from then I got more into it and decided to take fuller doses, and even before I was even like doing mandalas and whatnot, I just sort of got into a lot of the artwork that presented sort of the spirals and forms that you would see like on mushrooms. And it wasn't until I discovered Terence McKenna that I was like, oh, okay, this is something that I should really be taken seriously, that I should be using to, just sort of improve my mental, spiritual health and, do it ceremoniously. And so like, I think it was around that time, I don't know, 2010s, where I decided like, yeah, I'm gonna actually bring a lot more attention into this. So for me, like right now, I only go like you were saying, I do it rarely. Usually it's around like ceremony. I do, if I'm doing shrooms, I'm in a quiet place, maybe in a forest, But I would say, back to your original question, like as far as it like influencing my work, I feel like I'm getting messages, and I'm trying to understand the language, sort of the visual language that you see when you're in those states. And for me, and I don't know how to explain it, but like I know that there's been a lot of talk about how the universe is logic, it's language, and I think that's part of the thing I'm really doing, is that, there are other ways to communicate with other dimensional beings. I think this is sort of how this language appears to us, right? The sort of the fabric of the universe, and like how things are actually structured at a molecular or energetic level. So I actually have a hard time trying to capture some of these visuals. I think my artwork is a bit different than what I experience personally. Like, it's really hard for me to capture that. There's some elements in there, but it's really difficult to capture the entirety of like what it feels like or what it looks like.
Yeah, replication is a really, really fascinating topic. I have a good friend of mine, Symmetric Vision, Raymond. He's been on the podcast before. He does really amazing, replication. where he'll
Yes.
kind of really focus not necessarily on like the mandala or like the the fractal nature, but like kind of the way our eyes are playing tricks or the way things are breathing. And there's another guy, Locovision, I'm sure you know of him as well. Is
Yes.
really really cool to see these kind of like really realistic, maybe it's not the right word, but like real, like almost realistic ways of replicating these experiences. I want to keep on going on a tangent of psychedelics because it's like a really kinship. We have a kinship here, but I want to also a little bit about Burt as an artist. Like, were you always inclined to be interested in arts? How did you get into digital art? How did you get into motion graphics? Give us a little bit of a rundown of like your introduction to this kind of world of digital art.
So this is my entire life story then, but
Yes,
it was
let's go.
starting at the age of 5. No, here's the short. So I actually grew up as a graffiti artist, and I was
Wow.
So I just
Makes sense.
loved like LA, graffiti. I loved San Francisco, or I mean, New York graffiti, and I had books like the subway art and art with, I forget what it was called, street art or something. It was some book, but yeah, just growing up in LA, you just see all this kind of this sort of play of color and shape and form, and like I just fell in love with graffiti art at that time, and then I sort of got into graphic design accidentally in college. I'm actually a sociology major, I got into graphic design by accident. We had a zine. This is like in the 2000s, 1999.
Nice.
And the guy who was designing our newspaper just couldn't do it. So I had to take over. I had to learn PageMaker overnight. That's where it starts.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So basically, I'm a self-taught graphic designer. I've been working with Union Communications for over 20 years. And through that process, I knew I had to learn like motion design and video editing to really like fulfill like some of the needs of the work. And so through that process, I just discovered After Effects. I took this class on Skillshare, and it was just like the rest is history.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you're kind of like from the streets in that sense of like, graffiti is such an interesting, like discovering grounds for art, because it's
Yeah.
it's counterculture in nature. It's, fuck the system in nature, but at the same time, it's like there's so much like ethos and like history and culture involved in it. And it's such a like a what's the word, like a multidisciplinary art form, right? It's not just
Yeah.
spray painting. It's architecture. It's color and form, like you're saying. Especially nowadays, I mean, some of the graffiti is insane. Oh, I just remember there's this. I wish I remembered his name, but there's this graffiti artist in Berlin. I just saw this documentary about him, and it was so mind blowing. Like, this guy, does like the most crazy illegal things to send a message, and like all his art is like about a message of like peace and unity. And it's like, and this guy's like super addicted to the rush of, breaking the law and doing all these crazy things. But he's like, but he's super self-aware of it. And it was very beautiful to see this guy with like this very strong message. Wow, graffiti, interesting. Have you dabbled in it since?
No. Oh no. That
No.
stopped. In high school.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Immediately.
Okay.
I had to get
You're like, this is
into my
too dangerous.
academics. Yeah. I need those straight
Gotcha.
A's.
Nice. And so getting into digital art, that was like almost out of necessity for starting this zine. And were you
Yeah.
are you kind of computer inclined, or just just in the normal sense that you've grown up in this generation?
I think it's just because I grew up in this generation,
Yeah.
I mean, my generation, we were analog and then digital. So
Yeah.
once computers came around, it was just like, oh, an Atari, but I'm with way better graphics. You know what I mean?
But I can manipulate pictures and do animations.
Yes.
That's so funny. Interesting. And okay, so was it like a very natural progression for you going from like 2D, like Photoshop style, like design to motion graphics, After Effects? Was there like any things that you had to pick up along the way? Any mentors that you had along the way? What was kind of your introduction into like motion graphics proper?
Right. So, so prior to learning After Effects, and this is probably 2014, 2015. So 2015 and back, I was, I knew like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Those are like my main tools. So advanced user and everything, right? So when I picked up After Effects, yes, it is, right? So when I picked After Effects, I was like, oh, this is just like Photoshop, Illustrator in motion.
Right.
You're like, oh, like screens and all kind of things. You're like, okay, like the filters. You can take all of those skills from Illustrator and Photoshop and apply them to After Effects. So, so the learning curve is a little steep, but I'm a quick learner, and like I just like started using it. My first class was with what's his name? His last name's Armstrong. This
Neil?
Dude from
okay.
Yeah, I know, right? Rich Armstrong on Skillshare. So I got into his class, and he basically, I would say like 99% of my work is based on his loop method.
Interesting.
And so
even today,
from there, yeah, today it's because it's a basic loop, and I'll show you guys later on, like just like how to understand loops. I'm sure you know how to do loops already, but from there it was like I started following Video Copilot.
Yes, Andrew Kramer,
right?
The OG.
Andrew Kramer, the OG. Yeah, a lot of my techniques are in. I'm borrowing a lot of techniques and a lot of the filters and FX Console. I saw you talking to Erica about FX Console.
Yes.
Big time promoted. That makes my life so much easier. That little shortcut.
It's so funny because it's like After Effects like goes through all these iterations, and like I don't touch After Effects very rarely anymore. So it's like if you don't get those like little like updates when they're happening, you're just like, what is this? And they're like, well, you don't know what FX Console is? Like, it's like such a so funny.
Yeah.
But Andrew Kramer was the shit, dude. That was so fun.
Yeah.
Like that like era of After Effects and motion graphics was like, oh, I can do anything. Like, so awesome.
Yes. So just to name a few, I have a really wide I have like a whole YouTube playlist of tutorials. So there's Andrew Kramer, there's Evan Abrams, and then a whole bunch of other folks that I follow on YouTube for like tutorials and stuff. Like I borrow a lot of techniques, I kind of mix them all up, and so I'm still learning a lot. And now I'm starting to incorporate ChatGPT. I'm starting to incorporate AI into making scripts for me. So
in After Effects.
In After Effects.
Like expressions or like proper like scripts
proper
to
scripts.
Generate stuff.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
What is the scripting language in After Effects? Is it Python?
It's Python.
Python.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't code at all. I'm just like prompting the scripts.
Yeah, I mean now anybody can. This is like the era of we can do anything in After Effects. Now it's like you could do anything in code if you know the environment that you're in well enough to know how to ask the question.
Yeah.
It's bombs away. I would recommend Claude, Anthropic's Claude for coding. I personally think it's better. I just shifted completely into Cursor, which is like a proper scripting environment that has built-in AI. But I'm a little bit more further along in the journey. I'm also not a coder, but the past 3 years I have become a coder just from being able to prompt. And something that was really really useful is whenever I prompted a script, I made sure that there was a lot of explanation of what each module and function is doing, so that I could read my script that was prompted for me, and also kind of learn through it. I still can't really write things from scratch. I can do a little bit, but not anything big. But just having that, just having the AI kind of like reiterate to me what it's doing, allowed me to kind of really hone in on the skill. So I really
Nice.
recommend that whenever you're writing a script, make sure that you're getting a lot of comments, of course, in the script, but also have the AI abstractly write to you what each function does, so it's not just like here's something and run. I mean, you
Right.
can do whatever you want, but
Yeah.
that's just like a good way to learn what you're doing and gain a new skill. Because I think that 5-6 years from now, we're all going to be coding in some fashion through some interface, but it's going to be very kind of like how anybody can Photoshop today. I think anybody's going to be able to code, in
Yeah.
5-6 years. I think it's going to be like one
Some-
of those things that. What were you saying?
I was gonna say at least some level of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Super fascinating. So you're primarily in. You're fully in After Effects, but some of your work has like some 3D element to it. Is that just through Elements? Is there some
No,
plugin? It's
It's
all.
Blender.
Okay. That's what
Blender
I thought because
3D.
it looked like a proper. You even have it tagged. I missed that. Okay, cool. So when did you start getting into Blender? I wrote the question here in an interesting way. I wanted to ask you, like, for you, what is the difference between like 3D versus shaders, and then is there even a difference for you when you like approach it in terms of like what you're making?
Okay, so the first one, I actually resisted learning 3D for a long time, just because I just thought it was going to be overwhelming. And it's tough. It's still like really hard to learn, but I chose Blender because there's just a really wide community, and so you can learn from so many people. Everyone's sharing resources and techniques, and so it's been relatively easy to learn. And so, what was the other question about shaders and?
Well, I mean, like when you approach 3D, coming from such a heavy motion graphic 2D shader background, do you feel like there's a difference, but I'm just interested to hear from you, like what do you find like the challenges? What do you find the benefits? Like a canvas versus a 3D camera, right? Like what does it open up for you? How does it kind of like affect the way that you're creating?
So I think for me, I really wanted the work to go from being a canvas to being more immersive. And so when I started doing work for domes, I realized that I needed to think differently about how I composed a piece. And so that's really sort of the motivation behind that. And so I think I'm able to really capture some of the movement that you see in altered states, right? Or just sort of like being able to play with patterns on top of patterns and working with 3D and working with different camera angles, shape and lighting, all those kind of things. But yeah, so as far as process, like I kind of stay away from like using native shaders, right? Like this is going to go into the weeds, but like if you
No, let's
like
go.
I follow Ducky 3D a lot,
yeah.
and he creates his shaders with nodes, and like I know that you want Visuals does the same thing. Like he's a beast when he comes to being able to sequence. It's all node based, and I'm like
Right.
I don't really have the time to like learn and build all of that, and so I'm almost sketching. I'm almost thinking like, oh, I just want to make this general shape, and like, let's just go with it. These are really simple shapes. And so anyway, I'm actually applying After Effects sequences on top of like, 3D. That's really
Like-
what I'm doing.
Through a composite or like inside of the actual render?
As an image texture. So let's
Gotcha.
say I model
like
like
a render. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, if like let's just take like a torus, right? And what I would do is I would just take this pattern that I created, an image sequence, a PNG, in After Effects, and just sort of use that as an image texture over the
love
shape.
that.
Yeah.
That's like, that's a smart thing to do. Smart, such a boring word, but that's like it's a smart thing to do. Like you're combining these forces in a way that makes sense. I think a lot of times, especially like in the world that I'm in, like, you know, in the generative and real time, there's always this, and I fall a victim to this. There's always this thing of like complexity and difficulty, and you know, how intricate is it? And sometimes really like you're shooting yourself in the foot, because yeah, okay, so certainly if things are complex and intricate, you're probably going to get an interesting result, and it's probably going to be very impressive, and I'm going to drool over it and think you're so cool. But sometimes you can get the same result from simplicity, and maybe even a better result, because it's a tool at the end of the day, right? These are all tools, and any tool can be, a hammer can be used as a screwdriver can be used as a hammer, but they might not be the best tool for the job. And it's really it's in the control of the artisan or the artist to decide what tool is the right thing for the job, and everybody's going to have a different approach to that. And you want to apply your strengths, right? If you're really good with a hammer, maybe you know how to use that hammer as a screwdriver. You know, you might have some technique that we don't know about. So I feel like that's something that people forget, including myself, and I have to remind myself, keep it simple, stupid, all the time. I should have a big poster here with just KISS on it. Probably would make my life way better. So interesting. So you're learning 3D. That's awesome. Yeah, Blender is great. You know, it's open source. You know, I'm sure you know about Adobe and them being super evil corporate entity. So anytime you can shy away from these systems is always a good thing. And you did a good choice in choosing Blender. It's definitely, it's just the best because of its open source nature and because of the community. Like, it's better than all the other ones just because of that. Might not actually be better in terms of the tool sets and everything, but because of that, it's a better choice for 99% of people. And the trend, by the way, is Blender. You know, big, huge studios are starting to use Blender. It just, the most recent Academy Award for animation was in Blender. Not that says anything, but...
Was that Flow?
I think it was, I think it was a cat or something, like some cat thing. Was it Flow? See it. Yeah, I didn't see it. But it's just cool, you know. It's like, oh, I'm using the program that the pros are using, and for a while it was like, oh, this is the cool program that the anti guys are using. But now it's like, it's mainstream. So shifting gears back into where we started, into altered states. You know, I'd love to. You kind of mentioned it a few times, and I know it's probably very difficult to quantify and put into words, but do you have a method of pulling out these downloads from altered states? Do you have, you know, do you write down notes, or is it more intuitive? Is it something that, you know, is just kind of fleeting? Like, what is the process from a journey, a message, to a computer, to a post?
So for me, I'm really trying to capture feelings that I remember, or a lot of times it can also just be like, I just want to see what this feels like, what it looks like. And because it's so elusive, like the experience, like it's really difficult to remember these experiences and what it feels like. But it's like, again, it goes back to the language, right? You have vision. You're sort of you're exploring this world, and once you see the language, it kind of sticks with you. And so, a lot of times when I'm creating stuff, it starts with a sketch. It might start with some music, or it might just be like, it might just come to me, and you know, I'm just trying to capture that feeling, really. And so, I have a sketchbook. I'll just sort of like write down notes, draw sketches. Or write down concepts of like how things should move, you know, or just even like the idea of like, what would, like, I have Tibetan bowls right there. So like, what does their vibration look like? Or like based on on the feeling and the sound, how would you translate that visually? So, And then just other times I just want to honor like sacred geometry. I follow a lot of art from the Middle East and Persian in origin, and so like I'll look at like 12-fold mandalas or something, and really try to like honor that pattern because it's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and so like just really sort of um, you know making sort of animations built on that kind of architecture and geometry. And so, there's just a lot of like a wide range of inspiration for me, but usually the process is sort of like just sort of channeling and downloading a vision, whether I'm driving or sitting around or just listening to music, and then sort of bringing that into paper and then to the screen.
Awesome. That's a
Yep.
really in-depth kind of explanation of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that like idea of the feeling of the emotion. It's like, yes, a lot of psychedelic experiences are visual, but a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's really just immense understanding or immense like messaging or even just emotion, release of emotion, transmutation of emotion. I sit a lot with Wachuma, San Pedro, or peyote, mostly San Pedro, but mescaline is the actual chemical or whatever, and it's very rarely visual. There are definitely vibrational feelings. Things are definitely trippy as fuck, and you're like kind of like in a weird kind of ethereal light palace kind of vibe, but you're not like blasting off like DMT. It's not like acid. But the immense feeling of love and connection and being hugged by the universe and all these things that are kind of involved in these ceremonies are so like they are kind of in a way visual, like
Yeah.
I often feel after sitting in ceremony like very subdued visibly, like very subdued visually. Like I have very rarely do I have any inspiration to make anything visual. It's a lot more like emotional growth, spiritual growth, helping me with my relationships, helping me with my relationship to myself and the people around me. And it's funny because I really want it to be like visually inspiring, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But then when I do have a chance to do LSD, or when I do have a chance to smoke changa or something along these lines, I'm like, the few days after, I'm like, idea, visual, like this is gonna be cool, and I just feel like there's something very interesting in the terms of the way that these plant medicines or the way that these substances kind of react, and it's super subjective, right? Like everybody's gonna have a
Right.
completely different experience with these things. So I love that you're focusing attention on the feeling and like the general vibration of it. I think that's really smart. I love like when you said Tibetan sambos, I'm like kind of scrolling through your Instagram feed. I'm like, oh yeah, that is definitely a Tibetan sambo. Like, like the ding and like the the vibration outwards.
Yes.
Like it is so mandala-y, like through sound, right? It's such like
Yes.
like a torus field of like in and out kind of like fractalized kind of thing. So interesting. I never really thought about it like that. I love that. I really, really love that thing.
Yeah. I
Have
got into cymatics a while back too. That's what really sort of like started
yeah,
this.
Cymatics, that's right. Is
Um,
that what started it for you?
yeah, just it was sort of like mind blowing that sound and matter can interact to form geometry. I'm like, holy shit. Oh, can I
Yeah.
cuss? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay. Yo, but for real, like I was completely mind blown when I discovered that. And just seeing it like done with water and sand or salt, it was just amazing. I was just like, God, this is the kind of stuff I see like when I'm journeying, but also like this is reality.
Yeah.
This is happening in real life. Like you see it with your own
It's
eyes.
so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, and I after your set, I want to get a little bit more deeper into this because I think there's something so powerful about the nature of math and reality. Without going too much deeper into it yet, like that Cymatics is such a good example because it's kind of like if you would walk around with a microscope, you'd be looking into this microscopic fractal universe, right? Like, you look at a salt crystal and it's like this beautiful lattice of like, particles organized. And it's like, it's so psychedelic. And then, if you think about like geometry, all the platonic solids and the way that they're so simplified, but then they can create all this intricate design. And then if you think about sacred geometry and the way that, different cultures, you mentioned the, what mandala did you mention? I forgot the name of it, but it's the 8-point mandala, right, that you were saying?
12-point, yeah.
12 point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But like every culture has these simple yet intricate designs and shapes. I've been really fascinated by Zapoteca for a while. And, a lot of the things that they do is like they'll take like an object or a design or something, and like an object or like a effigy or something like this, and they have like different symbols that mean different words, and they'll kind of like use these symbols, paint these symbols in like in like a texture around it, and use different symbols to almost tell a story in some way. And and then you can obviously go to like the Shapibo and the way that they translate their visions into patterns. And even like thinking about like I was just recently in New Zealand, and like the Maori tribes have all these really intricate shapes to say words and things like that, and it's all like simple spirals and like forks and things like this, and it's like not necessarily entheogenic inspired, but they're inspired by the earth and by the source, and it's like it all comes down to like some sort of language, which is what you started out with, and I think that you, maybe us, maybe we as artists are trying to in some way like bring that language down into a digestible form, or into some sort of I mean, technology is kind of allowing us to do this, right? Whether it's through the ability of the internet to touch tons of people at once, or whether it's through After Effects and the ability to make all these things, but it's there. Like you said, we live in this amazing time. Like, why not utilize it? Why not make it into something, right?
Yeah.
Why not focus on it? Have you had any feedback or interest from people that are inside of the spiritual world, from shamans or teachers or spiritual guides? Have you had any some reactions from them about your work at all?
I've had a lot of reactions and responses. One of them happens to be a shaman I work with. I'm going to keep everyone's names private, of course.
Of course.
So I've been working with someone who administers the sacred medicines, and basically has invited me to work on an app with them to capture these experiences. But I'm talking about those kind of experiences, or those kind of opportunities that come my way, and it's just beautiful because I'm able to contribute to the experience for so many people, right? But as far as people in that community, I think they feel like I am sort of speaking the same language. A lot of it is sort of like it reminds them, or it kind of like this feels, very similar to what they're experiencing and what sort of the inner languages, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's been a tremendous response from so many people like throughout the years, and I think I'm getting a little closer every day to being able to, speak or to translate what I'm seeing more directly. But that's gonna take some time. Yeah.
Interesting. When you say it like that, can you like open that up a little bit? Like, is there something that you're working on, or is there some technique, or is it just more of just like experience over time?
Yeah, I would say, I think it's an experience over time, right? Trying to keep the visions, like to me, especially, like and it's hard to talk about this without without talking about DMT and those molecules, right?
Please,
because
go for it.
Right. One thing that I learned recently is that ayahuasca is a spirit, right? Ayahuasca isn't actually the plants; it's the spirit of the combination of the plants. And that when you enter into this space, she is very powerful, right? She sees you, she knows you, and like I don't want to always, I really don't want to disrespect her divinity and her sacredness by just taking her patterns, right?
Wow.
It's not for it's not for vanity, right? This is a very direct and personal relationship that you have with her spirit, and so I do want to honor that, but it's very intense. Like just when I get into that space, it's really difficult for me to understand or translate like what I'm seeing. I think I capture it a little bit, but it's just it's a different kind of place to be, and I've been told by the spirits of that place not to not to just exploit the experience, right? I'm gonna do DMT so I can take patterns and then like show them to people on Instagram.
Right.
That's just disrespectful,
Yeah.
right? And so
It also just naturally seems gross, right?
yeah.
But I don't. But you're not doing that. I mean, that's not something that you're doing. I hope you realize that you're that. Not that I'm an arbiter of ayahuasca or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
feel like just by knowing you and seeing your journey and seeing your authenticity, like it's not like you're doing it for vanity. There's something more to it. So, I would think about. Yeah, I mean, such an interesting take on it, and kind of like almost like a hesitation that is there.
It is.
I totally understand. I during COVID, I got deeper into Shapibo and really really wanting to understand these patterns more, and like I've never sat with ayahuasca before, but I have a very strong affinity to DMT and that realm, and I really wanted to understand the patterns more, and I started tracing them, and I started drawing them and breaking them into different layers. Actually, shout out to Tass for
Yes.
kind of giving me this idea, 6 or 7 years ago. And through doing that, I really started seeing things that were there. You know what I mean? Not that weren't, but that were there. I was super lucid and like in it, but it kind of like scared me in a way. It kind of like made me think like, oh, this is a real thing. Like this is the real deal. This is like the real
Yes.
map to the universe. And but at the same time, I was making art, and I was very happy with the art that I was making, and I was like, oh, this is good. I want to release this. I want to bring it to people. What's the point of I'm not making art for others, but I'm making art to release and express.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's a very strong thing about another person feeling and expressing and getting that expression. Like that's part of it.
Yes.
So my way of kind of like finding some sort of middle ground that felt like the best way to me, and this is during COVID, so it was a very like NFT world, was all the proceeds that I made from my Shapibo art I sent to the Shapibo people. And a good friend of mine from from Northern California helped me find those people, and it felt transactional in like a very healthy way of not like I'm not like and again no judgment or shade to anybody that uses Shapibo patterns and doesn't do this. It's not like the only way to do the thing, but for me personally, it just felt like the right way to do it. And there was like this really crazy stream of events that happened from this thing. I'll give like a very brief because it's a little bit deep, but we moved to America. I started releasing these patterns. Somebody reached out to me and is like, "Oh, I love these Shapibo patterns that you're releasing. They're so cool." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. Have you had experience?" Getting into conversation. Yes, I'm actually close to the tribe. I go visit them every once a year. I'm like, "Oh, really? I'm trying to figure out a way to donate to them. Can you tell me how to, what's their PayPal? How do I get to them?" Gives me the PayPal, sends me pictures of the people enjoying the money, and there was like this like crazy thing. And then I'm like, around that time when we moved to America, we were looking for a community to sit with in ceremony. And this guy who connected me with a Shapibo was like, "Hey, come to North California and sit with us in ceremony." And it was like, this like small gesture triggered this like massive spiritual growth for me and my family. And it was just like, it was just in such a like the medicines and the spirits work in these really crazy ways. I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's like the medicine starts working when you accept to go sit at the ceremony. Before before you get there, before you travel there, before you drink it, the moment you say I'm going to go, that's when it starts working. It's like these entities are so powerful in their reach into reality and into our consciousness. It's like it's very special. So I hear your hesitation. I'm sure you've thought about it a lot, and I hope for you that you'll find the right way to do it, because I feel for us, we want to get it from you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a conduit of some sort, then we need it.
Yes.
So, and that will lead me to the Dream Machine, which is something that is, I just found out about it very recently by looking at your Instagram and everything. But I tell everybody should go check out this website. It's fucking awesome. And as somebody who loves lucid dreaming, and light therapy is something that I've been a huge proponent on and trying to like infuse light therapy into my visuals and VJ shows. This is so cool. So please tell us about it. What is your involvement in it? How do you, how did you even find this thing? Like, what is the thing here?
All right. So I currently am an ambassador for this for the Dream Machine, so I got into it because I discovered the Lucia Light previously, and there's a sort of a small crew of people who provide the experience here in California, and so I tried out the Lucia Light. It was amazing, of course, like being able to see the fractals, and you're just sitting there, and like this is your own brain producing these patterns.
I don't think I know about this. What is it called? The Lucia Light? Yeah,
look for the Lucia Light.
Lucia Light?
Lucia Light.
Huh.
Oh, and guess whose artwork that is?
Yeah.
So
I don't think I know about this. This looks new to me too.
Yeah. Wow. So the Lucia Light's amazing. Just as far as like its power and its ability to create different patterns and its interaction with your mind and your optics, it's just amazing. It's also very expensive, right? So people who do this have to actually make sure that they are booking these experiences to pay the thing back. Yeah,
pay
it's
off
just
the device.
Yeah. It's and so the Dream Machine is a lot more affordable for people who are practitioners. It's accessible, and I absolutely love the experience. It's similar, if not exactly like the Lucia Light. There's different programs and different sort of like playlists in a way. So it goes with music, and it's just like different patterns and different kind of like settings. And so I tried it out. Just one of the folks who's actually practicing this is Allison. And she showed me the Dream Machine, I think it was last year. And it's amazing. I actually don't own one. I'm actually working to get one myself, and so, but it's amazing, and it's just like.
But
it just sits
you've done
on the
sessions with
table.
it and sat with it before.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So have you always been interested in light therapy and this kind of idea?
I'm fairly new to it as far as like how it works and whatnot. Just because I think part of the drive for me is just like I want to be able to take the artwork to a more sort of service, right? Like how do I take artwork and actually make it something that you can experience individually and can be a service to your own mental well-being? I think light therapy is one of those pathways.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
Dude, this is like, the therapy through art and color and light is like, I mean, this is like, I think what we all want to get to at some point is to be able to have our art, not all of us, but let's say a lot of us, have our art heal people, right? Like that's, who wouldn't want that? That sounds like a really amazing kind of thing to be part of. There's a really awesome group of people called the Psychedelic Society. And I'm going to have actually the founder of Jose on in a few weeks. But basically, they focus on research and science within the psychedelic community and within the psychedelic entheogenic plant medicine / altered states kind of research. And they partner with lots of different scientific institutions. But what their main kind of thing is to bring these experiences into the hands of everybody. So through VR, through AR, through apps, you can kind of do meditation experiences, do altered state experiences. And one of their really awesome apps is called Brain Candy. And it basically is like a mandala kind of fractal kind of thing in VR that has crazy flashing like sequences that sync up to different hertzes and things like this, and give you some sort of stimulation that is akin to some sort of tunnel experience.
That's dope.
It's dope, and it works. Like, okay, maybe if you're like a super deep I don't know, like ceremony person, or you're doing acid every weekend, you're like whatever. But for 90% of the population, something like this is like a window into something that they probably would never experience. My mother is never going to do DMT, like, even though if I talk to her about it every week, tell her about it, and for even if I dose her, it's like she's never going to do it. So but I would be able to tell her, hey, try this VR experience, and then at some point, like, hey, check out Burt's art, or look at my art. And that's like something that I think is, with the technology and with the understanding and with the science that is being developed inside of these worlds, we have an opportunity to infuse it into our artwork, because it's there, like the information is there, especially when we're doing the work individually, each person in their own way. The messaging is there. Combine the messaging with the science, I think that's kind of like a beautiful future that we can all be part of.
I love it. Yeah.
So I think we're going to jump into your set now. We're really excited to see what you have ready for us, Burt. Please take it away.
All right, great. So I'm going to show you a few ways of looping, and basically this is sort of like super beginner, but it's just like anything. It's just once you learn how to loop something, then basically you can loop anything. So what I'm going to show you is how I get. Where is it? Right. So it's just a sort of creating a radial loop, right? And you'll see this formula in a lot of my early work, and even till now, it's like it's everywhere. So what I'd like to start with is so I need these alternating lines, right? And so I created a white solid. I added the mediation blinds effect to it.
Nice.
And then, just so I'm mathematically precise, like, everything, like this is set, because in the end it's going to be 4096, right? So I'm using those numbers to divide down to like, 128, right? And so width of 1024, 2048. I created the blinds, 50% transmission, so you see that. And then changing direction. You can play with the direction too, like that'll create a trippy effect as well. And then for the width, I wanted there to, depending on how many stripes you want, like I'm going in divisions of 4096. So if it was 256, right, you still get like that same symmetry. It's just a lot easier, and you see the next in the next part. And then so to animate this, go to bands 2. By the way, shout out to Jake Bartlett for teaching pre-comping. Oh yeah, and as well as Andrew Kramer. Like just knowing how to pre-comp is just like a huge difference.
Sure.
All right, so my next composition here is 1024 by 1024. Now it's just a square. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the bottom of that shape and then positioning it right to the middle. If I went to the top of the shape, right, then it would be a lot faster. But when you do it like this, right, it's just a loop. And I'm just going to the end to make sure it loops. And so my keyframes, top and bottom, right, I created a, sort of, that's my end, beginning and end up to 120. If I wanted it faster, I'd just make that, just compress that time. But basically, it's just that. So let's make sure it loops. Yeah, so you don't see any difference. You don't see any jumping or anything, right? So you take that. Okay. At this point, I could have started with something that was this wide. So right now the comp is now 2048 and 1024. So I could have just started with something that shape and did the same thing, but it was just kind of like, oh, I need a circle in the middle. So I need enough room. So you take the polar coordinates, rectangular to polar, hit that, and then you got your loop. I don't know, just.
It's as simple as that.
Simple as that. Simple as that. Now here's the other way of doing it. Okay, so other way of doing this, and there's many ways of doing it. There's like a million ways of creating like circle loops like this, and I use them all. So this one, shape layer. I heard you and Erica having discussion about like shape layers, like you shouldn't use it. Well, I use it, damn it. So, so this one is, what am I doing here? What is this? Okay. It's 480. So I do use a lot of like the sort of like traditionally like sacred geometry angles and in my numbers and like the file size, all that kind of stuff, right? These are like 369. All right, so I have a shape layer. I started by creating a circle, like let's just say I created a new one, right? So I created a shape like that, right? And then all I'm doing here, okay, again, this is just sort of transformation over time, is I start with a size, right? And then it goes up to whatever size this is, 1660. It doesn't matter. It has to come off the screen, right? And then the stroke width, I actually wanted, because if I started with like 80, then it would just pop, and I don't want to do that. So I just kind of wanted to make sure that the line itself, started at 0 or at least invisible, and then it scales up. And then just to smooth that transition from the beginning, I have an opacity keyframe, so it just goes from 0 to 100 kind of early, and then goes off, right? So let's see, is it layers 3? Okay, yeah. All right, so what is this? Why is there both? Okay, whatever. And so now I take, let's see, I'll just do it real quick. What is this, 6? Okay, let's just do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I forget what I got utility box. I think this is from, God, this is Ukrainian crew.
Nice.
A utility box. Basically, you can just sequence things a lot easier. So this is a
Nice.
this is 480, right, divided by 6 layers. So, yeah, 80.
Oh,
Right.
cool.
And
That's
so
super
you're
useful.
creating, you're actually capturing the center point where they all meet, and then there it is.
That's the loop. Wow.
Yeah, it's a loop.
So it's
Now
just
you'll
literally just duplicated layers.
yeah, and it's just
Wow.
offset by the number of layers. Like if I did this, like let's say I went, let's just duplicate this even more. Let's go 12 divided by 80, 40. And now I'm just gonna have my, right, so you get more, of course,
Wow.
right?
Interesting.
Like if you can get here, like there's a lot of people, the reason why I'm showing this is because the two biggest questions I get are one, like, uh, what apps do I use? And then the second question is like, do I do tutorials? And I'm like, no, I don't do tutorials because they're all available out there. Like, yeah, I'm not going to teach something that's already been taught. I can show you what to watch, but like, it's just a lot to sort of take in. Like, I would have to
For
like
sure.
just give you a curriculum and stuff. But this is the basic.
For
This
sure.
is sort of the very basic um, formula. All right, let's see. So bring it back here. And so I wanted to show one quick thing, and it's sort of like essential to like why my animations are smooth, and that's just easy ease, right? That's it's a simple thing, right? So in this case, I actually took the graph, the speed. Hold on a second. Right, and I'm just sort of ramping it up. And by ramping it up, it actually creates a little bit more of that exponential growth, right? Whereas in bands 3, the right, sort of the lines are equally spaced. In this one, it isn't. So it allows, for me, it allows for smoother, like sort of proportional growth in the animation. Now, if you wanted to take it up a notch, you could do this in animation as well, right? You can go from black to white in your animation. Like if I were to go here and transition the color from black to white, I can do that. But I got, it was like, it was an afterthought, so I just added a gradient layer, gradient ramp, circular or radial. And then on top of that, and you'll see, by the way, shout out to Erica Anderson. Like she's like
She's awesome.
huge and yeah,
She's
she's
super
awesome.
cool.
Like I would say like yeah, she's a huge influence in my work and like I love what she does. Um, all right, so let's see. I don't wanna. This is so jagged. The hell. Okay, there we go. All right, so after I added the gradient ramp, I just added a colorama, so now there's color being applied to the gradient. And then, I can animate the phase shift. Oh my God, this is the secret sauce. I'm just giving it away for free. Jeez, okay. All right.
Make sure to always shout out Burt Veracruz if you're using his techniques. Follow him on Instagram, follow him on
Please.
YouTube, follow him everywhere there is, and shout him out. And you know how it is, Burt. The more people use your
Yeah,
techniques, the more karma points you get. It always comes back into it.
that's true. That's true. All right. And then now, just apply. This is so dumb. This is so simple to me. Sometimes I'm embarrassed when people ask me what I'm doing. I'm like, God, it's so like simple, and it's just like, it's a matter of taste, right? Like you can make a song that's absolutely beautiful with just 4 chords, right? And you're using, a 3-5-7 progression sequence or something, right? It's just or a 1-3-5 progression, and it's like for me, it's like yeah, like these techniques are really simple, and like anyone can do them. Honestly, you just need to know how to navigate. So anyway, here's the hex tile, right? So I actually added just a little bit more, and that becomes the basis of my patterns. They just get more complex from there. All right. Thoughts, feedback? Any questions from
Super
the crowd?
cool. Yeah. Um, speaking about the crowd, actually, it's funny because we're announcing today the season 2 of the visual cast, where we will have a live stream episode where the audience will be able to interact with the artist. So
That's
we'll have to
dope.
have you back one day and do one of those. But yeah, I will be the audience for now, and I will say that is super cool. And seeing the simplicity of things that are intricate is super cool. It actually makes me appreciate what you do even more because, yeah, looking at these cool circle patterns, I'm like, yeah, that's dope, cool circle patterns. But I know what you do, and you're not just doing circle patterns. You're doing these crazy intricate mandalas that are like, mirrored, and yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, you have to take that super simplicity thing and make it, very, very intricate to be able to get to the place that you get to. But yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating to see how these things are done. It's just super cool.
Just add a little bit more to it, I guess. I don't know.
That is a nice effect stack.
And then yeah, it goes from there. So that's really basic, but I would never publish this. I'll be honest. It's so mechanical to me. Dot 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 dot. Okay, all right, we're done. Let's move on to something else. So let's see. Premiere. Let's actually open it. All right. So I didn't sign an NDA. Did I sign an NDA? I don't know if I did. I'm currently working on a show that's going to be featured in Bali. They're building a dome for it. And so I've actually built out a 15-minute show. I'm currently working on it today. It just incorporates a whole bunch of pieces,
Nice.
some really beautiful music
Super cool.
from an artist who lives in Bali. And so I'm sort of in the final stages of just like final edits. And there's one piece in here that annoys me every time I see it. So it's this one. Get out of here.
Why?
Oh, it's too defined. It's too.
Uh-huh.
It's such a difference. Like it's just so. It's a break to this moment in the experience and
Interesting.
the music, that you go from something that's sort of abstract and loosely defined, and then you've got these things that
These
feels
rings.
unfinished to me. Yeah, it just
Interesting.
rings. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
Right.
oh, I want to do something more. It just doesn't feel right. Because after that, then you go into this kind of stuff, and you're like, okay, this on a 30-foot dome is like kind of wild.
Oh yeah.
So this kind of takes me out of the experience, right? I'm just sort of scrubbing through, right? And you got that, and then womp womp womp. So let's fix this. So I'm looking at the time. I started working on it earlier today at a cafe. I was just like, I don't like it, and just gonna rework it. So again, you're gonna see a lot of the very basic techniques that I used in that first tutorial. And this doesn't give everything away, of course. Again, like I use a lot of techniques, and a lot of times they're sort of the same formula. There's not a whole lot of magic behind this. Okay, so let's start with, what did I start with? I started with a gradient ramp, added a colorama. So now I've got like my bars, made sure that my comp had good numbers, 2160. This is ultimately gonna be 4096, and so like I need to, I must have built this at a different time. Yeah, this should be 2048, but we'll see what I do later. All right. So I have the colorama, and then I'm just phase shifting the colorama in this case, right? So it's just going from one to two rotations, 720.
Why
And then
two
I'm
rotations
cycling.
instead of interest? Is there like a reason for
Oh,
that?
speed.
Just to make
Just
it
for
longer?
speed.
Oh, speed.
Yeah,
Control
yeah,
speed
just
better.
speed. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then the repetitions is what gives you these stripes, right? If I did twice, right, you would get that. So I'm just using 6. And then, what did I have originally? Let's turn this on. Oh, wait a minute. Why did I add that? Oh, yeah, this is on still. So I'll show you what I had originally.
Whoa.
right?
The fuck?
Why does it look like that? That's not right.
It's awesome though, except for that black line. That's super
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It wasn't like that earlier, so we'll see.
And this is cool too. I mean
There it
that
is.
pattern is so interesting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
some
so it's
warps, huh?
just simple wave warp. So the first one just goes this way, right? Again, like this for me, like what I'm trying to replicate is sort of the vibratory patterns that you feel,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're feeling
Mm-hmm.
vibrations, so I'm adding that element to the work where you have
Mm-hmm.
waves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is really just to tweak it out a little bit, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And you'll see why
Mm-hmm.
later on. So then what I do here, I think, oh, because wave warp, it creates these edges that aren't pinned. Um, I think I just scale this up, so at least
Mm-hmm.
it's completely, completely wraps the
Mm-hmm.
composition. I added these two later today. I was just trying to explore a direction, but I'll just show you where it goes from there. Here's another adjustment layer with polar coordinates and then
Mm. Twirl.
twirl,
Nice.
right? So just creating your spiral that way. And then it loops.
Super cool. It's amazing. It's amazing how it just starts from a gradient. Like I know that it's like to you it's like, oh yeah, whatever, but it's like it's pretty fucking crazy. That it just is literally just a bunch of bars with like effect stack. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's such like an antithesis to like 3D where it's like you have to like build everything like yeah, you can add like
Mm,
modifiers and effects, but it's like you can't just add an effect stack to make something happen. You can do
right.
modifiers for sure, but it's just such a different approach. I find it so fascinating.
What's this? Is not the one. Yeah. Um, yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, just pre-comping and all that kind of stuff. It's just the way I edit. It's a workflow. What do I do here? Where does it go from here? Okay. So, I think at this point, I wanted it to zoom, right? I kind of wanted to zoom out, but I wanted to do so in a spiral. So let's
Mm.
see. Why do I have two? Oh, no, I only have one on. So let's see with this. All right, so I have the scale and opacity, right? This layer is basically just, it's going from 0 to whatever percent this is, 100. At the same time, the opacity is, fading it on, fading it off, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to see it like sort of like jumping here. And then the scale, if you look at the keyframes, I'm using exponential scaling, right? That way, as it grows out, it has more of a sort of evenly spaced growth. And then you can't rotate this thing in a spiral, right? Because the piece itself, the actual um, composition itself would rotate. So I'm connecting the lead layer to a null,
Mm-hmm.
and that null is the thing that actually rotates the entire piece.
Mm.
Uh,
Interesting.
do I have my anchor point rotated? Okay, okay. So now going back to that loop formula I showed you earlier, we have 8 layers divided by, I don't know, 1200 keyframes, right? And now you'll see how it loops.
Huh.
Very
Interesting.
simple stuff, right? And
The
so this
same technique almost, but just you're
same
instead of
technique.
yeah, you're stacking them and just getting
Yeah.
that loop. Yeah. Interesting.
And then in this case,
Oh wow. Huh. That's so
right?
funny that's so crazy when you break it up. It's so like, but you see the mastery here, Bert, is like knowing what to do with the simplicity of the things. Like I would never
Yes.
think to, put them all in an array like that. You know what I mean? Like it's a very distinct type of thing to think about.
Yeah. And then, you know, instead of like actually writing out the rotations, I just use expressions all the time. Just index times 30 minus 30, So it's rotating 30 degrees with each index, or which each layer, right? So let's just click here,
Just
right?
as an expression. It's like automatic.
Just an expression, yeah. I mean, you could write it in. You could just
No, for sure,
write
but
it
it's
down.
easier to just copy paste. Makes it easier.
Yeah.
Wow, so cool.
So
So
it creates the
cool.
illusion that it's sort of zooming in endlessly. But yeah, like again, you see that circle, right? You saw that circle from before in the
Yes.
tutorial, right?
Yes.
And you see how it's just taking the same technique and then
Totally.
applying. Yeah. But again, I'm not really happy with the design because it's so, it looks broken to me. So I'm going to play with it a little bit. You want to see me work on it? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, let's spend a few minutes like watching you kind of just go into it. I mean, it's your process is really interesting.
Okay.
And I had the same feeling. Yeah, please go.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say I had the same feeling with Erica, because it's like it's this world that I am familiar with, After Effects, but it's like you guys are using it in a completely different way that I never even imagined when I was using it. So it's just fun to see kind of the different approaches.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that's a part of After Effects. Like, I feel like people want to learn my techniques, but it's really, these are just basic After Effects techniques. Like, you should really learn After Effects just for, just as a general designer. Like, I can do like brand, animate brands and things like that. I mean, it's like I have access to those skills as well, and so, but it comes in really handy in my day work. So.
Right.
Anyway, so I wanted to break this up. It just feels a little like not organic to me. And so I wanted to add a little bit more distortion. I was thinking about sort of adding this turbulent displace and just making it more liquidy. You know what I mean? Like this is like armies marching. This is more like my brain is melting. And so I wanted to do this, and then let's see, I kind of wanted to, what happened? Where we go? Okay, there it is. All right. So if I turn this on, I'd still get that line there. That's a problem. I kind of want to take the lazy way out and just put in a mirror or something. See, I'm a little lazy. I'm just not gonna. You know what I mean? It's just. Oh, this is cool.
Damn.
I don't like that.
Super trippy.
Yeah. Well. All right. So in the end, I still want it to be. Is there a line? I don't see a line. Yeah, I don't know. Just because I do like how, I kind of want there to be a bit more sort of organicness, and I might need to like mess with the shape a little bit so it doesn't feel so, yeah, it feels stiff. So let me actually go back here. By the way, I was listening to some podcasts with Billie Eilish, and the guy was talking about how like the songs that Billie Eilish makes are really simple, right? They're beautiful, they're widely popular, and yet they're in some ways sort of simple, but also sophisticated. And he was comparing her to sort of like the Mozart of our time, and the difference between right and what makes these artists like Mozart or Billie Eilish like just amazing is their sense of taste, and I think that's what I'm trying to bring. Like it's just like being really intuitive about how something looks and feels. Like it's super important. Just because something is trippy doesn't mean that people really feel it. You know what I mean?
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so
like I'm not feeling that, and I'm willing to just go back and say no. I don't want to do that. I just want to make this feel a bit more rough around the edges. So I think what I'll do is I'm gonna try to, I'm just gonna try to distort the edges of this a bit more, and let's see where that takes me. So I think what I want to do is I'll take let's go to fractal noise. This is a Andrew Kramer technique.
Shout out Andrew Kramer, OG.
For real.
The real OG.
Real OG. I'm gonna try to displace the shape.
Oh, with the noise. Gotcha.
Yeah, actually, I know what I have to do. I have to create a solid. This is real time, by the way. All right, let's just create a new solid. Fractal noise. Okay, so now let's just go with dynamic progressive.
Nice.
Contrast. And that's fine. Okay, so let's just hide this here. And then I'll create another adjustment layer.
I love how you use everything, like you use adjustment layers for everything. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like
more
it's
tidy
like
for you.
working non-destructively.
Right, that's right. For sure.
Let's see, effects and masks. I'm tripping. I don't know if this is gonna work. So we'll see. To anyone who's viewing out there,
Well, something's happening.
something is happening. Okay, so it has to go. There we go.
Does it be above
Okay.
it, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, this one has to go below or something, or it needs to be this whole thing needs to be pre-comped. Okay, so I'm using that now. What I want to do is I want to mask this. So I think I want to do this. Let's add a mask. Let's see if that does it. Nope, it has to be here. Good. Okay, so it's not exactly circular, but I could fix
Goes
that.
outside the mask a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, let's just feather this up and bring it down. Okay, now what does that do? You know what, just to be sure, let me just pre-comp this whole thing.
Ooh.
Oh shoot, what did I do? I hit the wrong...
Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh no. That was great.
I give up. I'm done.
That was perfect timing. You know, thank you for showing us deeper into your workflow. You know, at least it was a crash and it wasn't like some sort of user error. You did manage to get the displacement to work, so that was cool. And we're looking forward to seeing the final result of that new piece that you're coming out with. It's looks like it's gonna be really awesome.
Thank you.
So kind of diving in here to a little bit of the post set, and we don't have so much time, so I'm gonna be a little bit careful about what topics we go into, and you know, maybe we won't necessarily be able to talk about them all, but we talk about as much as we can. Meditation and astral projection, you talk about this a little bit on your, you know, on your about pages and things like this. You're also part of, I don't know if it's a collective or really what it is, but it's some sort of green yogi. There is some sort of yogic practice of some sort. Yeah, please tell us a little bit about, you know, what meditation and astral projection mean to you. You know, where does it meet you in your life, in your art? And we can shift from that into this kind of green yogi collective and cacao ceremonies that you're part of as well.
Awesome. Yeah, let's start with the astral projection. I think that's the one that's super interesting to me because Do you remember those Time Life Warner books that had to do with out of body experiences and like encounters with UFOs? These
I
are books from
don't.
the 80s. Oh my God. Yeah, they were books from the 80s. My cousin and I got a hand on the library copy of the one about out of body experiences.
That's awesome.
I've always wanted to know what it felt like and what it would be like to actually leave your body in spirit and stuff. And so I think throughout my life, I've had a number of out of body experiences, and those are those kind of dreams or those kind of experiences are sort of like what got me into like, hey, is there another world out there? You know, like what else is beyond the veil? But as a kid, I knew it. Like I'm sure my mom and dad probably saw like this guy's gonna be on drugs. He's a good student. He's a good student, good golfer, but he's gonna be on drugs.
That's awesome.
So anyway, yeah, I would say that astral projection is it's just fun. Like some of the stuff that's happened to me. I mean, like, geez, like just like you imagine you go for a nap and then all of a sudden you're floating above your body and above the apartment you're in, and you're seeing everything with 100% clarity and saturation. Like your eyes are open. Like that's crazy to me.
It's crazy.
You know, I grew. By the way, I grew up Catholic. I grew up Catholic from like, you know, first grade to ninth grade, and like none of the priests told me about astral projection. Like, wait. You mean this is possible? You're not even like telling anyone? Like, how many Our Fathers do I have to say to get up there? You know? Jeez, like, yo, like for real, this happens with your body and your mind. So yeah, that. And then so unrelatedly, meditation got in my life because I quit my job in 20 was it 2010 or 20 yeah, it was 2010, and decided to pursue my certificate in permaculture design. We went down to
Nice.
yeah, it was a beautiful experience. We went down to Costa Rica, and part of that experience was actually doing a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat,
Wow.
and that was
Part of the
completely
permaculture, huh? That's so
as
cool.
not as part of it, but just it was part of the
In
same trip,
addition.
right? Yeah,
Gotcha,
in
gotcha,
addition, like we were just surfing for a little bit and then did that before we did the permaculture course. But yeah, so Vipassana was one that really stuck with me as a practice, just because it's so practical. It's just so practical to be able to shift to the present, to learn how to do that, to learn how to have better awareness of your emotions and how they, you know, drive your behavior and so on and so forth. But it's just really beautiful to be able to access the present, and to not conceptualize it, to not make your current reality and your present an abstract idea, but to actually feel it and sense it 100%.
Wow.
Yeah. So so for me, meditation is mostly that. I think if I'm meditating, I'm not actually trying to think of visuals or you know anything else. I'm here. I'm right here. Right. I think for me, cannabis is also a good help. It's also helps channel into deeper into that doorway between this realm and the next realm, but to feel it in your current reality, that's a beautiful thing. So, but yeah,
No
meditation for
doubt.
me has been really helpful. I mean, like I'm not a perfect person, no one is, right? But I definitely had to deal with a lot of anger and animosity and regret and shame and guilt, just years of just toxic emotions that were embedded, you know, throughout my body. And so, like, I needed ways of creating awareness around that and getting rid of it, right? And just sort of like energetically removing that from my body. And so I think, yeah, for me, meditation is about that. It's really being aware of my own patterns and allowing myself to surrender, and not let ego drive my relationships.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I would do more meditation. It's one of those things that I just never can get into a practice of. I'm very bad at about I'm very good at getting bad habits. I'm very bad at getting good habits.
Dude, just wash dishes and be
Yeah,
100%,
no, being
you
present
know?
for
Yes.
sure. Taking deep
Yes.
breaths, focusing on things, going
Yes.
on walks. I definitely do that, but there is something to like having like a practice every day of an hour, 10 minutes of an hour.
Yeah.
I actually I just twisted my I sprained my ankle really badly like
Oh
recently.
no.
I just finally got off crutches. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but right before that, I was finally getting into like a workout routine. Like finally
Yeah.
like I did got 2 weeks for me was a long time of like I'm doing it every day and I'm doing it and I'm doing and then I fucking twisted my ankle and it's like nah, I'm gonna be lazy now for a month and not do anything
Oh
and I have
no.
a really good excuse. But yeah, I mean, when you can get into these things, I think they're super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
The lucid dreaming is something for me that was always very prominent in my life, and I never managed to get back into a routine of it. But the few years that I practiced it stuck with me forever.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you're speaking about cannabis. Um, as I stopped smoking and took breaks from it, my dreams have come back tenfold.
Yes.
And the that actually helps me when I wake up in the morning. I take a moment and think about my dream of like what did I just go
Mm-hmm.
through, what did I just experience, and it really it helps me like integrate my day. Like it's
Yeah.
not even it doesn't have to be a certain period of time. It's just like the moment I wake up, I think about it because it was so potent, and it allows me to kind of like contemplate and get ready for whatever's coming. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean, astral projection I
Yes.
never got into. I really should. I think I would really enjoy it. Um, I've astral projected many times while tripping on acid, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's probably not the same. I've definitely left my
Dude,
body multiple times.
every time I know I'm about to leave, right? I'm shooting for Series B. I'm shooting for some constellation. I'm just gonna jet myself off of Earth. It's crazy. It's
uh,
crazy, like just having that awareness and being able to do it. So,
Amazing. And how does that tie into cacao ceremonies? I'm going to show a little bit of this. There's this My Green Yogi
yes.
website that I think is you're part of it in some way.
Oh yeah, let me
Uh,
actually clarify that. So, no, I
please.
just started working with Madali and Sapito, Jenny, and so where it started was that I actually just wanted to be able to present my art and to collaborate with local musicians and folks who facilitate ceremony, and just to have my work out there in real time in real space. And so Madali Love, that's her name. She actually facilitates the ceremony. Um, she reached out to me, and I was like, you know what? I'd love to get my artwork out there. And so I'm in Oakland. The space is in Berkeley, and we
Mm,
decided to add visuals to a cacao ceremony. And
nice. That's
so
awesome.
yeah, it was so beautiful. It's so powerful. We had a circle of like 25 people, and it was just like the perfect amount of people in that room. And so Jenny was, she's facilitating like the vocal toning, using like my visuals, and I basically like I had like a different visual for every color of the chakras, and so like with each one she would tone certain sounds to align with that chakra, and
Wow.
it was a beautiful experience. And so like
That's
I think we're gonna
awesome.
work together a little bit more in the future. But they're not the only folks I work with and collaborate with. There's another group, Multiverse, and we've done shows together where it's just like, I had my work up on a dome, and they were playing sound bowls and all kind of like sound healing instruments.
Cool.
So them and Alternity, Turkham,
Nice.
who's Michael Strauss and
Yeah,
Torkham
Michael
G.
Strauss, familiar. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
Michael
sure.
Strauss. So yeah, we worked on a show last year, and they consider me like their resident artist. So I guess that means something. But I actually love having access to a dome like that. And Torkham is just like amazing artist. Michael himself is just sort of like a VJ. It's just like he is so deep in wisdom, and his technical skills and expertise is just amazing. Like,
Totally.
um, that show wouldn't have happened without him last year. He was able to set up the show so it would just go smoothly and beautifully. But yeah, just that's the thing. I love working with a lot of people, collaborating with musicians, artists, whatever it is. Like just it's fun. Honestly, it's pure fun, and sometimes it's just so satisfying to like feel your music and the visuals go together hand in glove.
For
You know.
sure, for sure. Yeah, there's really nothing like it. Yeah, cacao ceremonies. I love them. We did a cacao ceremony for our wedding. You
Nice.
know, um, it's such a good way to integrate the aspect and idea of ceremony to people that don't necessarily want to do, entheogens and and go to a different realm. For our wedding, we did a traditional Jewish wedding, and then we did a party because it was during COVID, so we had to split it up.
Yeah.
So we did an underground nature party, illegal nature party,
Mhm.
double illegal nature party because COVID. And we gave out lots of drugs and we gave out tons of stuff, and the way that we wanted to kind of I didn't want to be like, oh, you have to do this thing and you have to do this thing. I didn't want to like force anybody. I wanted everybody to do what they wanted, but I wanted to give them the ability to do whatever they wanted. And what we came up with, this shaman lady, or she probably wouldn't want to call herself a shaman, but this woman who is a spiritual teacher of mine, we had this idea of let's do a joint ceremony at the beginning with everybody, so that if somebody's doing MD and somebody's doing acid, somebody's doing whatever they're doing, everybody's kind of unified in something. So we did a cacao ceremony at the beginning of the party, so that and everybody's part of this energy. No matter what they're doing, they're part of they have some like baseline to go back to, and it worked. People were doing crazy shit, but nobody went overboard. Nobody hurt themselves. So it was like, the energy was held in that sense. So it's such, and I drink cacao every morning. I don't drink coffee. I drink cacao because of the properties of like the open heart, the focus in the mind, and I feel like it's a really strong medicine that I really
I'm
love.
gonna
It.
switch.
Yeah, there's
switch.
a great dude.
Yeah.
There's it's called Aura, ORA cacao, and they make divine, like high grade ceremonial cacao. It's in California. They're the guy who does it is a lovely guy, and it's just super, super really nice. And they have a few mixtures, like a few mushroom mixtures, a few ashwagandha mixtures, and they're just amazing. I take a high dose, but I love coffee, love the smell of coffee, love the taste of coffee. But if I drink coffee and then I don't drink coffee, I get a headache, and it could be 2 days. I could have a headache if I don't drink coffee. And for me, any substance that has this addictive kind of nature to it, I don't want to be part of it. I kind of try to cut it out. I still drink coffee every once in a while and deal with a headache if I have to. But for a daily routine, yeah, cacao has been super nice. And once your caffeine levels go down, the amount of caffeine in the cacao gives you the boost that you need. It's like it's a tolerance thing. So I highly recommend.
Thank you. Yeah. I stopped drinking coffee, and then today I just tried to have some matcha, and it gave me a headache.
It gave you a headache, really?
It gave me a headache. I was just like, okay, I need to stop like caffeine entirely.
Yeah, I mean, caffeine is it's a super powerful drug. Go figures.
Right.
But cacao, it has caffeine. It has lower dose, and it has I can't remember the name of the molecule, but it's like not creatine. It's like it's what chocolate. It's something that chocolate has inside of it. But it basically is a stimulant of some sort that is that facilitates the low dose of caffeine, and it basically pushes it. It makes it last longer. I wish I remember the name of it, but anyway. Yeah, highly recommended. And it's awesome that you do those sound journeys. Those are so nice, and the pairing of those two things are so powerful. We've talked about it a bunch with the light healing. Sound is a frequency. Light is a frequency, as well as particle, and it's it has that ability to alter its surroundings and its reality. So I think those combinations of the sound and the light are super powerful.
Yes.
we are kind of at the end here. I know you have to go, so I'm gonna give you one more little thought before we leave. The nature of math and reality, we kind of mentioned it before, but just talking about it, you're obviously very aware of sacred geometry and of sacred numbers and kind of the way that they have this divinity and create beauty in the world or in reality. It's always a question of chicken or the egg, like what came first. But is it beautiful because we're part of it, or are we part of it because it's beautiful? I don't know. The question, But for you, where do those things meet? Where does the math and the beauty of reality meet? Where does the idea of a pine cone having the same number, and where does the idea of leaves fractalizing outside of itself kind of meet you? Where does these things kind of touch you, and what do you think about them when you're making art and when you're just kind of living?
Yeah. So, sorry, let me think about this. I'm not a mathematician, right? So I know basic math, right? And I'm able to use that in the art and in creative ways. But I think what is astounding to me is the fact that we live in a very logical reality, right? Like that it actually does follow mathematical patterns. And that is wild to me, right? That even in the patterns we create, like why should that be the case? Like why are we not in a reality where everything is just liquid and everything is just sort of formless and like goop, be it we're like just we're sort of regions of consciousness, not even individual, but regions of consciousness that are sort of flowing into one another. That could be a completely different reality, but in our reality, you can make things like dressers. You can create shape, and those are sort of like because our reality is very much mathematical and structured. There's actually physics, and there's sort of these laws that are you're not able to break entirely. Right. And so it is very trippy to, like, when you think about, you're looking at a tree and you're seeing how it grows. It looks like it's organic and wild and everything, but there are patterns in it. Like, why should that be the case? Like, why do we live in a world, like, it draws so much curiosity. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to do with the artwork. It's like, hey, would you consider for a second? And I, it's sort of like, I'm thinking of my mom right here, like, Mom, like, you don't want to smoke weed with me. I'm just trying to show you there's a different world. But like, yo, don't. But like, just consider for a moment this bush you drove by. Like, it's growing in mathematical forms. Like, you don't think that's astounding? It's directly tied to math. There's logic to this universe. Why is that the case, right? I think that's astounding. What else? Yeah, just like the forms in nature, the spiral. It's just the spiral everywhere, like, and the spiral is present in so many cultures, for thousands of years. I think they were looking at the galaxy and like, well, the galaxy, and then like as above, so below, like just like you're seeing spirals in plants and stuff and ferns. It's just beautiful, and so I think that's a cross section of beauty. It's just that, like, when you discover how much organization there is, and the fact that you are part of that, and then just imagine yourself and your body being aligned to nature and just divine geometry. You are part of this beautiful perfection that is expressed throughout the galaxy. There are complexities and chaos, but also there's so much order in our reality, in this dimension of our existence, that the fact that there are even sort of at a quantum level, right? That there are ways in which reality is brought into our own, to observation, right? To our ability to observe that. That's you know what I mean? There's just so, to me, it's deeply, deeply meaningful to be in this instance.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better. You so eloquently said it. Yeah, I think we're super lucky to be here and be in a place and time that we can kind of like contemplate these things. You know, we have so much spaciousness. We're not being chased by animals and chased down by mobs and things like that. I mean, whatever, politics, etc. Yeah, whatever. And, you know, thank God that we are where we are and we're not in places that are being affected in a negative way. And, you know, please, those places will stop having those negative aspects. But regardless, I think that, I think you're right. I think that there is this kind of moment in time that we can appreciate the divinity of reality, and look at the historical appreciation, and maybe take the kind of understandings of the ancients and the past understandings of divinity and beauty, and push it through technology, through, you know, science, through innovation, through the spaciousness that we have, and bring it out into something, you know, even more powerful that we could never even think of, the unimaginable joy, as it were. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Burt. I really appreciate your time and getting to know you more. Being your fan for so long, it's been really nice to get to know you more. And
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Really appreciate it. Is there anything you want to plug or talk about before we leave?
No, just, you know, be on the lookout. Definitely, I want to grow my YouTube channel as well, and so I want to offer that as another space for people to experience it if you're not here in person. So,
link down below.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend, and we'll talk soon.
All right, we'll talk soon. You too.
Wow, what an episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Mandalas for the intro and outro music. Thank you to Sophie Holder for the amazing internship helping us with all the episodes. And thank you to the guests for coming on and spending time with us. See you next week.